Now that snowbirds and spring breakers are back home, now it's a great opportunity for you to focus on your listing and your property. In this video, I'm going to give you some immediate tools that you can use to not only optimize your listing, to make sure that your property is functioning well, took care of all those little maintenance issues that you didn't get a chance to take care of during the busy months, so that you're ready and your listing and your property is ready for spring and summer. Welcome, my beautiful people. Fernando David here. I'm going to get into one of the most important tools that the Airbnb platform provides you as a host, and that most short-term rental operators are not taking advantage of. In fact, I believe it is the most underutilized tools that we currently have. So I'm going to show you a listing that I'm working on now from a client that hired us to optimize their listing. I went onto their Insights, and again, so let's talk about the tool that I'm talking about. It's called Insights, and when you log into your account, you're going to be able to, you'll see this on the top, you'll be able to click on Insights, and this is what you're going to see. These are opportunities, and in this case, this host has 21% of the opportunities have not been completed. Now, we're going to talk about these, which are here. We're going to talk about these, the ones that I firmly believe you need to be taking advantage of, because there's really no reason not to, but a lot of you guys are missing. What I want you to do is go into your Insights, and then I want you to make sure that you at least try to get as close to 100% as you can in each of the following categories. Now, what I'm going to talk about now is some of the most common, but we're also going to go into some of not so common ones that I firmly believe you're going to get a high ROI if you take advantage of. So in this particular case here, one of the ones that are really highly underutilized is your ability to add longer stays. If you follow my channel, you know that I'm a big fan of catering to remote workers, the nomad community. These are travel nurses, and these are people that are looking for short-term rentals for 30, 60, 90 days, up to 180 days at a time, right? But if you don't have that clicked off on your listing, meaning you don't have it checked off in which you're accepting longer stays, you're not going to show up on a search for longer stays. So that's one of the many areas in which we're going to go through now. Some of these I'm going to go through quickly, but some of these are very important, and we're going to touch on these. The next one, which is the opposite of this, is welcoming guests for shorter stays. Now, I know some of you are totally against, you don't believe in short stays, for example, 1-day rentals or 2-day rentals, but I highly recommend that you shift your mindset and start accepting these shorter stays, because you're going to show up on more searches. And the more searches you show up on, the more chances are you're going to get a booking and convert some of these people. Now, I know 1-day stays are very controversial, and I know a lot of them come with more problems, but there's a way to mitigate that. Here's a way that you can mitigate that you may not be aware of. You can continue to have minimum stays for your weekend. Usually the weekends are where the problems are, and have a minimum stay of 1 night for a weekday. Now, you can adjust that on your calendar, and that's a subject for another video, but understand that you can still have a 1-day stay and still have 2-day minimums for example, the weekend. But in addition to that, if you're going to have that 1-day stay, make sure that you adjust your price accordingly, so that if someone does book that 1-day stay, they pay for that 1-day stay, right? The next one, and this is a big one, especially for a company like ours, in which we manage and we co-host property for other people. And when we do that, a lot of times owners and or other people that have access to the property, they tend to block off certain days. Now, I'm going to preface it by saying this. If your goal is to utilize the property and then just use the short-term rental game to offset some of the costs, this doesn't apply to you. But if your goal is to maximize profits, this does apply. And the reason it applies is because if you block days, you're going to be penalized in searches. In addition, this is so important for Airbnb that if you have a tendency to block off days that are in high demand, Airbnb is actually going to send you an email or a notification letting you know that you may want to unblock those days because they're in high demand. That's how important that is. Again, if you work work for an owner that doesn't care about revenue, this is not a problem. But if you work for an owner that cares about revenue, this is a big problem because this does hurt your SEO and your search status. You are going to be penalized if you block these days. Another one is adding what's referred to as an early bird discount. Now, this is something new that Airbnb started applying within the last 12 months, I believe. This used to not be the case. And the reason this wasn't the case, and I'm going to go back to prior to COVID. Prior to COVID, my booking lead time, meaning how far in advance do people book, used to be 3 to 4 months. Today, it is 8 days. So Airbnb is trying to get people to book further in advance. And one of the ways they want to entice you to do that is through a discount. Many, and I want to say all the listings that I look at for other people don't have a discount for this. Now, the way we use it is we set a 15% discount for any bookings done 4 months in advance. So we use that 4-month marker, but I believe 3 months can also be very useful. But take advantage of this because it's something that Airbnb is pushing, and you should have 100% on this, 100% score on that one. The next one goes in hand with longer stays. You should also have discounts and or set prices for monthly stays. So this is another area in which your score should be 100%. There's really no reason why you shouldn't have 100% on that. We're going to go into some of the, what I refer to, check marks that everyone should have and that you should apply. If you're new to the game, this is going to be very easy. My recommendation is that when you're setting up your listing on Airbnb, that you check off every box. You're going to have the ability to check off every box that you possibly can check off. So for example, self-check-ins. I don't understand why people do not have self-check-ins. Today, you need to have that. It's very important that you have self-check-in if it's possible. And I say that because we manage 2 hotels, and obviously the hotel has a front desk, so we're not going to have a self-check-in mechanism because they have to check in with the front desk. But if you have a single family home, if you have an apartment, there's absolutely no reason why not to have self-check-ins. And people actually search for self-check-ins, so you should have that in your listing. That should be 100%. Doesn't mean that you can't still meet your guests after they check in, but having that checked off is going to greatly increase your visibility and or your bookings. The next one on the checklist that is a pet peeve of mine, and that is having the following. You're going to see, especially if you have a property that you're trying to promote and attract families, you should have a pack and play. You should have a crib. You should have a high chair. And I'm going to regress here for a second. I'm going to go into a tangent on something that's a pet peeve of mine. If you're getting into, and I mentioned this in other videos, if you're going to get into the short-term rental game, you need to detach yourself from your property. It blows my mind when people decide to put their property on Airbnb and then have all these freaking restrictions. For example, no pets, or if it's a pet, it has to be under 25 pounds. No kids, or if it's a kid, it has to be a certain age. No, obviously certain stuff that you don't want, like smoking, etc. But they're so attached to the property and they put so many restrictions on it that it makes the property, or it makes really useless to post on Airbnb. You know, as a joke, and really not a joke, but I mentioned before, if you're not willing to accept someone that's going to go to your property and have sex in your bed, cook bacon in your kitchen, put their feet up on your sofa, bring their pet, even if you don't have or you restrict pets, people are still gonna sneak pets into your property, and don't freaking get into this game. Don't put your property on Airbnb, please. Anyways, going back to this, getting a pack and play, getting a crib, getting a high chair. It's the ROI on that is so great, or the cost for that is so minimal, but your ROI is so great, there's absolutely no reason for you not to do that. And today, Airbnb added a bunch of other stuff like reading material. They added stuff, you'll see ping pong table, pool table, all these extra stuff on there. If you can supply it, people. It'll definitely help you stand out, and at the very least, because you checked all the boxes, Airbnb is going to see your property as a property in which they want to promote. And if you're relying on Airbnb, and a lot of you do, and I've already told you this, that you shouldn't, but it'll greatly increase your occupancy rate and your revenues. So let's go on. The next is availability window, meaning you should have at a minimum 12 months available for bookings. You should have that weekly discount enabled and add a discount for weekly stays. There's one other thing I want to discuss on here, which is last minute bookings. Now, this is one area in which I don't really take full advantage of. I don't give discounts for last minute bookings, because if someone's looking for a last minute stay, and again, it's going to depend on the availability out there. Someone's looking for a last minute stay, chances are they're going to book your place regardless whether or not you give them a discount. Now, can it help if you have that discount on there? Surely it can, and we do use it on certain occasions, but my software will let me know if I'm going to apply a discount or not. This is why it's important that you have a pricing software, but my software is going to tell me, is there a high demand? Or if there's not a high demand, then we're going to entice someone to do a last minute booking by giving a discount. Well, my beautiful people, I hope this information was useful. If it was, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, follow me on Instagram. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.